Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 744. My opponent started off with e4, and I went with d5, the center counter. Not the most popular move here, but well, it leads to some interesting play. Let's see. After this, he took, which is the main move, and I went knight f6. You see, knight f6 is a second choice. The main line actually continues with this queen takes, but I've always played this line. I like the idea that you can get your knight out there and then not have your queen chased around. And he played knight c3. This is a line. For some reason, after I take, most players seem to just keep taking, and that really doesn't lead to anything for white. There's still a reasonable line for white. He should continue with bishop to c4, and after knight b6, bishop b3, knight to c6, we get a position sort of reminds you of the Alechen's defense with the two knights over here on the queen side, but the pawns are different. Anyway, that's not what happened in this game. Yeah, in this game my opponent just took, which is what I've actually seen most of the time in practice. And well, this leads to a position that's just about even. He went d4 here, and now I went g6. Now I seem to get into some trouble later, so I was kind of wondering if there were different ways to play. The chess engine comes up with this. Well, first of all, the book move here is knight to c6, knight f3. Seems like this is okay, and bishop g4, pinning the knight. You know, kind of the two different ideas for proceeding with the Scandinavian defense. One of them is this bishop g4 idea, and the other is fianchettoing the dark squared bishop and trying to bring pressure onto the center. So it seems like this bishop g4 idea is more standard in this position. But, well, the chess engine points out this e5 idea, which is kind of interesting. If he takes, this is a pawn sack. And you might think sacking a pawn and trading queens is not a good idea. But, well, you keep attacking that pawn. Knight c6, knight f6, you pin this guy. He brings another piece out to defend. Bishop to c5, and bishop back to g3, and knight to d4. So anyway, it's a complicated situation where white is hoping to exploit the pin on the knight and get compensation for the pawn. And you know, it seems like if white doesn't defend the pawn, then black just grabs the pawn back and is equal. So interesting way to play there. Anyway, I played with g6 in this game. We're just out of the book now. He went knight f3. So I think we get some logical play. So all of this is with a slight edge to white, but no more than the usual opening advantage. He went with c3. He could have played a little more ambitiously with c4. But this is okay for white too, still keeping an edge. I thought after, yeah, I decided, I was tempted by the double fianchetto idea because I thought he was going to castle kingside, and then this battery is looking kind of interesting with the queen sitting in the middle. You know, that's one reason for playing a move like c4 and kicking the queen back, is to not have to worry about, well, the queen in the center of the board can generate all kinds of threats. But he just managed to survive them. Let's see, I went bishop e7 here, and he went bishop e3. Bishop e3 is probably a little too passive, but still keeping that advantage to white. Let's see, I went knight d7, developing my knight so as not to block this battery. He went queen d2, k d8, bishop h6. So his idea is just to trade off my dark squared bishop, which is actually a pretty good idea. You might think it's not doing anything and it's just hitting on this solid pawn chain, but I have ideas if he leaves the bishop alone of pushing the c pawn or the e pawn and undermining that pawn chain. So it's better to take care of that bishop. So I think this is good play by white. Let's see, I went queen back to c6 here, and he went bishop takes. Yeah, I was kind of waiting to see what he would do there. He takes, and then he went queen g5, and this was a good move. You know, all this time I've had this battery looking at g2, and the knight, you know, could only move to a couple of squares. It could go back here or it could go out here, and that was about it because he had to keep g2 defended. But now that the queen is in the g file, then this battery doesn't amount to a whole lot. And so I have to find some additional plans. Let's say I go knight f6, which I think is okay. Goes h4, I want h6, kicking the queen. You know, I just wanted to get it off that file, or yeah, that file if possible, but the queen stayed on the g file. And then I sort of give up on the battery idea for a moment and play queen to d7. But this is my first mistake, really. Start to go downhill from here. You know, I did think about the move queen d6, which the engine gives as one of the top choices, but I wasn't so sure I wanted to trade queens in this position. And although the chess engine says white would reply with knight e5 for best chances. Anyway, this should still be a position that's playable for black with slight edge to white. And then the chess engine gives this line, knight h5, queen e5, check, and knight back to f6 as a way to equalize. But of course that assumes that white is going to repeat. Anyway, I'm sure white would play on and look for other ideas. But anyway, that's apparently a way to get at least an equal position. But yeah, so queen d7 invites knight e5. It comes with tempo. So I went queen e6, and now he pushes on with h5. So this part of the game is well played by white. He's just building up the attack, starting with those tempo moves that I gave him. Plus he already has his queen over on the king side. So it is dangerous, although I do have my pieces in position here, so I should be able to defend this. I went with g5. I can't take because he can just take with the bishop and the pawn is pinned. So that pawn is kind of off limits. If I play g5, he goes f4, just trying to crack open my structure on the king side. And this would be, well, this is just good for white and probably winning, but I still have some fighting chances here. And I find a good move in knight e4, kick the queen around. The queen went to d3. Maybe it was a little better on e3, keeping the most pressure. After queen d3, the chess engine says I'm back in the game, or pretty much equal, with a move like c5. And then it gives this line taking and taking. And if he exchanges out there, yes, I'm feeling pretty good about this position, because this knight on a dark square can't be harassed by that bishop, and it can't be chased away by a pawn. So this would be a good outcome for me. I'm not sure that's entirely forced, but anyway, that's one way it might have proceeded. Another idea the chess engine likes here is f5. I make my second mistake here by playing f6, thinking I was chasing the knight away, and I overlooked that the knight hops in here to g6. Well, I saw it coming, but a little too late. I think I played that move too fast. And that's an annoying piece to have to live with. And so once again, white's in the driver's seat and probably winning. See, I go rook f7. He went bishop f3. And we get a series of good moves from white. So he's playing this well. I go knight to c5, you know, tricky maneuver taking advantage of the pin. And it's an okay move, but it doesn't. It still leaves white with that advantage. I do get to trade off this piece, though, so I felt a little better about that, if I can get rid of some of the attacking pieces. And then my idea is to bring the knight around to try and get rid of his knight here. Let's see, he went rook a f1, but he's, you know, white's got as many pieces as black does, and they're still very well positioned for the attack. Let's see, so I go knight f8, going for the potential exchange here, and he took on g5. And that's good timing for that exchange. It opens up the f file, and I have this loose rook here. It's not adequately defended. If I take with the f pawn, he takes. Yeah, I would have to take with a queen. So he wins a queen there for a rook. So I have to take the h with the h pawn, and now this there's always this dangerous threat of pushing the h pawn forward. Let's see. After h takes g5, he has a really good move here. And it's another one of these moves that takes advantage of pins. That's knight e5. Nice idea. So he's just attacking my rook, which has no squares, and I can't take the knight because, once again, he will just take the rook and win a queen for a rook. So this loses the exchange at least. Maybe more, because he's also got the threat of the queen coming in. So knight e5 was a killer move there. So this is where he starts to falter. He played queen d3. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe it was kind of a waiting move, and he wasn't sure what to play here. And so anyway, according to the chess engine, I can now equalize by trading the knight, which is what I wanted to do. But I didn't like the idea of inviting the queen in like that. Queen to g6 check. But apparently king to h8 defends. So you have to be pretty cold-blooded to be able to play like this. But I guess there's no great way for white to break through in this position, and I can hold it. Pretty interesting. Anyway, I tried to block the the diagonal here so I could take the knight at a time when he'd have to take back with a pawn, and then I had hopes of rounding up that pawn later. That was my idea, and that seems to work out. I looked at this. White is still better here, but this does at least not lose immediately, and I do get to trade off the knight. And now he should really just take back. And like I said, we'd get this kind of position where I'm hoping to round up that pawn. But he can, of course, take my g-pawn. So he's come out of this a pawn up. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 2 pawns up, although this g-pawn is doubled. And anyway, the chess engine gives white the advantage, just pretty much based on the material. But I could fight on, at least in this position. So he made this kind of unexplainable mistake. Well, it's one of those moves you can make if you're playing too quickly. You're playing in Blitz, and you see that you move the knight out of the way, so it attacks. You move the rook out of the way, so the queen attacks the knight, and at the same time you attack the queen. So it looks superficially like a double attack, but of course I have one move that meets both threats, and not only do I win the exchange, but I actually win the whole rook, because that pawn is pinned. He can't even take back. So obviously a move that was just played too quickly, or perhaps a mouse slip. Hard to say. But anyway, he did keep playing after this, but there's nothing much he can do. He unpinned, let's see, and I just unpinned my knight. He was pinning the knight and threatening to take it. So he takes the knight, but now I spot this idea to simplify the game by giving this check and giving this check, and that would force the queens off, and I would just be a rook up, and he has, well, really only one extra pawn at this point. Yeah, these pawns all match, and I would still have an f-pawn, and he would have these 2 pawns. He would have a passed pawn, but it's not enough to fight against a rook. So anyway, he resigned at this point, and interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon. Bye.